Alright, so real quick, this video has a Wondershare Filmora watermark in the beginning because I didn't know that they wanted me to upgrade to Wondershare 12 when I already paid for Wondershare 11. And I upgraded normally and did the whole editing and cutting on Wondershare 12, but when I tried to upload it, they said it would become uploaded with the watermark. I now try to go back to Wondershare 11 and re-upload the video, but all my editing didn't transfer over to 11. So this is gonna be one of those weird occurrences where I have a watermark in my video, but in future I'll make sure I use Wondershare 11 going forward. Thanks a lot, Wondershare. Welcome back to another video on the channel. So first of all, I wanted to get this video out earlier by waiting for all the African teams to get eliminated first before I give a full review and my thoughts on the teams and the tournament in general. But Morocco decided to go all the way to the semi-final until they ended up getting knocked out by Croatia. So this video is going to be coming out almost exactly around the same time when the World Cup is already over, so it works out in a way. But you know, it was a surprise to see an African team going all the way to the semi-final of this tournament. But first things first, huge congrats to Argentina. I'm more of a Ronaldo fan, but I can't, ignore the fact that they played with intensity, with passion. They had physical and mental capacity to keep on going all the way through, especially after their first loss and the multiple penalty shootouts they played, the multiple extra time matches they played. And of course, Messi, this is a man who has won everything, and the World Cup was the only thing that was left for him to win. So congrats to them. They played a real good tournament. It wasn't an easy one. So anyway, enough about Argentina. This is a Nigerian channel, and this is a channel that mostly talks about African football in general. So we're gonna talk about the 5 African teams in this tournament and how they did. So Senegal, Cameroon, Ghana, Tunisia, and of course Morocco. So first things first, Morocco. Like I said earlier, surprising that they went all the way to the semi-final. I think honestly, if there was a team that I thought that would go all the way to the semi-final, I would say Senegal or Cameroon. When we were watching Morocco in their group stage, their group did not look easy. They had both Croatia, Belgium, and Canada, who, even though they're a new team, they still had some quality player in their lineup. And we were, at least I was expecting Morocco to finish third, get eliminated in the first round, or at best finish second, but they actually topped their group. They went all the way, beating some really tough opponents. We're talking about Spain, we're talking about Portugal, and then even the Croatia match, they kept Croatia going all the way to the end. So I was really surprised that they kept on going all the way to the semi-final. I think, if you want to ask or really put a reason of why they went so far, my guess would be it's a team that has a good structure. When you look at teams, when they're talking about, who's their best player and who's the player that will make the difference, it's always a forward play. Morocco doesn't really have that kind of player in that forward line. I think the El Nesiri guy who plays in Spain is not really a starting 11 player. He's like on the sides, he's a sub, he comes around, rotational player. But Morocco's structure of Hakim Ziyech in the right wing, right? He's always going to be able to dribble and drag defenders to him to make the space for his forwards. You look at Hakimi, the right back, who is solid at the back with the defense and also able to attack as well. And of course, their goalkeeper, Bunu, who not only did very, very well with the shootouts, but generally throughout the matches they played, he was making some huge saves. I think when you have a structure, a good structure of players there, who aren't necessarily the star players in terms of the players who get the goals and make the headlines, right? These are players who are meant to be a good team playing where they play with the team, they play together, nobody really outshines anybody. I think that's what will always got you very, very far in a tournament. When you have a team that plays like a unit, not a team that plays for one person. And that was the huge reason that made Morocco go all the way. I think going forward now, we expect some of the Moroccan players to get transferred out to some other teams because of the way they played in this tournament. Obviously, Players like Ziyech, who hasn't really been doing so well with Chelsea, might maybe get a good move in January. Maybe he'll go back to Netherlands with Ajax or some other team in Spain or Italy, who knows. I think Hakimi might stay at PSG, but he's going to be very, very well sought after, either this season or next season. I can imagine maybe Real Madrid will buy him back, or he'll go to the Premier League. And then Bunu, who plays for Sevilla, I would be very, very surprised if he still stays there, either in this upcoming transfer window or the next transfer window in the summer, because he's showing himself to be a very, very good goalkeeper, and any team would be glad to have him. So next up, Senegal. And Senegal, the main news with Senegal was that Sadio Mane was injured for this tournament, and it did seem like that was going to be an issue for the team. And to be fair, it was an issue for the team throughout the whole tournament. They ended up being second and going through to the next stage, but those first two matches against Netherlands and against Ecuador, you could tell that they were missing that finisher, that clinical finisher, a striker. They were definitely missing that, where they were passing the ball very, very well, and they were even able to make chances and even get goals. But too many times they were missing some very, very clinical chances, some open shots. And when they finally went to the knockout stage against England, a better team, a team that would outscore you, and they also played very, very defensive as well, it showed with that 3-0 loss. And what you were seeing in that England game was that Senegal was actually passing very well, making opportunities, but they would miss, it would go wide, they'll get counter-attacked. And with Senegal being too exposed, trying to get goals and being frustrated without having a striker who could finish their good plays off, it really, really showed. Overall, I think it was still a good tournament for them. I think going forward with them, with the Nations Cup qualifiers coming up, I think we'll still expect to see Senegal being a mainstay, a main African powerhouse in African tournaments and even in the other award stages. But what we're looking for with Senegal now is, how do they now respond, making sure that their other players step up when a major talismanic player like Sadio Mane is not available. And now the remaining teams, this is now where the bad news starts, because all the other teams didn't make it to the next round. So Tunisia, Cameroon, and Ghana. And that might actually sound pretty bad. I mean, to be fair, if you want to do the math, 2 out of 5 teams going to the next round is pretty bad. But when you actually look at the games those 3 different teams played and the points they came out with in those group stages, it wasn't as bad as it seems. For all the other 3 teams, Cameroon, Ghana, and Tunisia, their group stage qualification matches went down to the last day. We're talking about at the final match day 3 of 3, all those 3 teams could have made it to the next round if the other results went their way. It still shows that African teams aren't just going to be easy teams to beat, right? They can hold their own, they can play anybody, and they can beat anybody. And I think that's what we saw in the remaining 3 teams. So first of all, Tunisia. Tunisia came out of their group stage and out of the World Cup with 4 points. They won 1, drew 1, and lost 1. And I think with Tunisia, we like Morocco, we saw a team with good team structure, right? Again, no really star player to talk about in that team. You saw players who were playing in they were playing in not so much of a high profile role, but they were together as a unit. And that's what we saw in that first match with Tunisia and Denmark. They tied Denmark, and they gave France and Australia some very, very difficult matches to play against. Unfortunately, they couldn't go all the way through, but 4 points out of the 9 that they could have gotten, and then you look at it where at the last day they could have gone through, it's still a very, very good showing. I think at the end of the day, the World Cup, when you make the World Cup, you deserve to be there. And Tunisia showed that they deserve to be there. And that was very, very good for them. Next team, Cameroon. Cameroon again had a very, very tough group with Brazil and Switzerland and Serbia. But like Tunisia, 1 draw, 1 win, and 1 loss. They kept it going until the last day. We saw Abubakar score against Brazil and get that yellow card. And I think he got a yellow card and got sent off. But he got that yellow card, and Cameroon in general were still playing. Choupo-Moting was really good. Karl Toko Ekambi, the whole Cameroonian team, Andre Onana at goal, making some good saves. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to, like with Morocco, and even with Senegal's group too. When you look at all these groups before the World Cup, you expect these African teams to at best make third place. At worst make third place, and at best make second and qualify. And it really just comes down to, at the end of the day, only 2 teams can qualify from each group, and it really came down to the wire of who scored more goals, who could actually control their different games. So unfortunately, Cameroon also was eliminated, but they still played a very, very good tournament. I think Tunisia and Cameroonians will be proud of their team or how their team showed, because again, their teams did not lie down. But yeah, Ghana, they came last, unfortunately. 1 win, 2 losses. But again, they could have also gone through to that group stage, to the next round. You look at the points in Group H: Portugal 6, South Korea 4, Uruguay 4, Ghana 3. If they had won their last game or got a better result in their first game, they would have gone through. But you saw again the heart, the passion, the intensity, the mental capacity to keep on playing, to keep on playing and making sure that they gave their best. And I think the main thing now that all African teams have to really work on is defensive awareness, defensive mentality, to make sure that we all know African teams can score, they can play, they can pass, they can run, they can shoot. But when you come up against other teams who can do that and do that better and consistently, your defense has to be on point. And a good defense would make the difference between getting eliminated or going on to the next round. So unfortunately for Tunisia, Cameroon and Ghana, they all fell out in the first round. I think with Ghana, Mohamed Kudus is a player that should be definitely getting a move from Ajax to some other league, because he's a very, very good talent that looks like he could be going far if he gets a move. But I think overall, the 5 teams who made it to the World Cup, those 5 teams that represented Africa in the World Cup, they did the best that they could. Morocco, of course, is the huge outlier, going all the way to the semi-final. That has got to be huge for the country, for the players, for the world, seeing that Morocco and just Africa in general aren't easy teams to get easy points from. The key now is the next World Cup, we have to follow that up. Let's see more teams go all the way to the semi-final, to the quarter-final, to the knockout stages. Let's see more teams make it out the group stage, to the point where, when we see the group stages for the next World Cup 4 years later, let's not just say, oh, they're all going to get eliminated. Let's actually see them play and come through.